As you can see, the water wheel is not moving, otherwise there would be different figures on this display. This is our old Schaltschrank. So this is where all the wiring and all the controls would have happened before we took over. Quite an old thing. It actually belongs to the diesel generator that we have. And then the extra wiring for the water wheel went in here as well. So there was a bit of control and some displays to see what was happening, but we're not using any display at the moment anymore, even when the water wheel is running, except the green one over here, which shows the charging status of the batteries. So at the moment it's 25.7 volts in the battery bank. And down here, this would be then the RPM of the generator. Good, but the topic is a different one today. Couple of pieces, couple of things arrived for the water wheel. First of all, these bearings. Oh, they're heavy. I would reckon about 20-25 kilos each. 2 of them for each of the sides of the water wheel. They both have to be exchanged. They're nicely greased, they're nicely oiled, I would have to say. So I've put them down here in a blanket, they're dripping out a bit, but that prevents any kind of rust setting onto them before we put them into the housing. They're made by SKF, so all quality material. So with them comes these guys. There are some clamps to hold the bearings inside the housing, and these are sealant lips to keep the grease inside the housing, between the housing and the bearing, so that they're nicely greased. So let's have a look at the housing. They have arrived as well. So this is the little generator that we use to produce electricity at the moment, but hopefully very soon we can use the water wheel again. So these are the housings that we're gonna use in the future. The old ones, they were made out of wood. I think I've mentioned it before. 2 of them each side. So these big bolts, they will have to be removed, and then you can remove the top and put the bearing inside when the axle is already attached, of course, to the bearing. Really cool, guys. I would say about 50 kilos each, I think. Let's have a quick look inside. Nothing really to see over there. And they will be greased up, of course. They provide these holes, so you just remove the little screw and then put your greasing nipples in. Perfect. Really massive things, and that will be good for the next, I don't know, 50, 100 years or whatever. Just keep them nicely greased and nothing will happen. Well, they're made by FAG. I think that's a German company. SKF, I think, is a Swedish company. Massive things. So this is the old bearing. This is how it looks now. You see the housing is made of wood, and this is the very dry place, so the wood is actually still quite okay. Not the top part, but the bottom part is okay. I can remove the top part so you can have a better look. So it was never really possible to properly grease it, because we couldn't pressure any kind of housing to put the grease into the bearing. So the only thing that we put as a lid, as a cover for the bearing on the outside here, and then greased it. Of course, all the grease would drip out. Same thing happening here on the back. So we just have a metal lid cover, and then all the grease would drop out behind there. I don't know if you can see. This is the axle of the water wheel, which ends here on the house side on this big concrete block. The concrete block's still okay, so we're gonna use this one as a base for the new housing. We'll put a metal plate down, we'll rubber dampen it with thick rubber, industrial rubber, so that any kind of vibration from the water wheel is not being transmitted into the house. As I said, we're sitting here on bedrock, so any kind of movement, and it's running 365 days a year, 24/7, will transmit into the house, and we don't want to have that. So it's easy to dampen it with a bit of rubber. So this ring here is screwed on, and this ring holds the bearing in place on the axle. And this bearing sits in this wooden housing. I think it's made of oak. Anyway, we have to unscrew this one and then lift up the axle. We have to support it probably here, lift up the axle, and then put wood underneath, remove the housing, unscrew as I said, and then remove the bearing and put the new bearing on. That will be next step. That will be next task. Good, so let's have a quick look at the other side. That is the broken side, which is completely destroyed. This is what we call the wheelhouse. This is the house for the water wheel, as the name suggests. And this is the generator room. The door is an old table tennis plate. This is where the water wheel is housed. Can't see anything. Sitting still, not moving at the moment. So let's have a quick look in here. I think you've seen this one on another video already. This is the generator side. So the black object over there is producing electricity, and the white thing over there is gearing up the drive RPM of the water wheel shaft, which normally sits over there, is being transferred to 1500 RPM if possible. So, and then there's electricity being produced. So now I wanted to show you this side of the water wheel axle. So as you can see, we've taken down the bearing already. This is what remains. Supported it on a couple of pieces of wood. And this over there is actually an old anchor, or an old housing for a bearing which is really old, never used by us or the pre-owner of this mill. So that's what we're dealing with. We have to clean it. We have to take out this metal parts over here, and then support this block of concrete here with another bigger metal plate. So we're going to remove this metal plate which is down there and put a new one down. And then this movement from this axle is being transferred to this gearbox over there. It's a planetary gearbox, and it changes everything from 12 to 13 RPM. It's then transferring it to 1400, 2500 RPM. So this is how it looks on this side. You can see we have got the same idea. Put a big metal plate down, rubber dampen it so that the vibration is not being transferred through the stone into the house that much. There's a bit of rust going on. Ah, shit. It's not good sitting. It really isn't. Should run. It produces heat, keeps the rust away. Oh well, hopefully very soon.